Hey, what's going on? This is Michael, and you're listening to Give Mike a Mic. I'd like to welcome you to today's episode. We have a lot of things to talk about. This week, we're going to be talking about John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, that just came out. A little bit of a review, but also an interview with some people outside the movie theater. Plus, I went to Megacon this year, and it was pretty interesting. I'll be sharing with you a little bit of my experience there and play you some exclusive footage from our Back to the Future panel that they had there with the reunion of Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, and others, of course, in attendance. And also last night was the Game of Thrones finale, and we're going to talk about that in detail. So if you haven't seen it yet or don't want any spoilers, please go ahead and turn this off right now. But before you do, make sure you give Mike a like over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher. And make sure to tell your friends about me too. But let's go ahead and get right into it. So last night was the Game of Thrones finale on Sunday night. It's the culmination of everything that's been happening in Game of Thrones for the past 8 seasons. And I gotta tell you, as much as I enjoyed the series, I'm not too sure about this season, this last season. For those of you that don't know, it's season 8. There's only about 6 episodes in it, so it's a very shortened season. And it feels that way as the episodes keep going. Again, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones or plan on watching it later on, just go ahead and skip a few minutes, but we're going to be talking about the finale last night. Not even the finale, really. It's going to be the entire season 8 that just happened. So my problem with the season, of course, was that it was rushed. It was a super rushed season. Only 6 episodes in season 8, and we didn't really get to tying loose ends until about the 4th episode of the season. So you had the Battle of Winterfell that they built up into episode 3, which the battle finally happened. And so you're thinking about it, it's halfway through the season that the Night King shows up, and the Night King is also defeated. But there was a lot of build up before that, even in season 7, season 6, a lot of reveals, a lot of things that were happening, especially with Jon Snow's character, that you felt was going to play out in the final season. Some type of resolution, some type of fight, some type of, I don't know, anything. So last night was the finale, and we finally get to see everybody's fate. And unfortunately, it was very anticlimactic, to be honest. This whole season has kind of been that way. So I have 3 problems with this season. First off, the finale and the entire last season suffered from what I call Dexter syndrome, or final season senioritis is what I call it. It's kind of like when you're a senior in high school and you really don't give a crap about your work, about going to class. You leave trash all over the table, including Starbucks cups or coffee cups, whatever it is. And you just don't care anymore. So one of my biggest problems is that the final season suffers from this, and a lot of people try to make excuses as far as there's not many shows that have a good ending. Anyways, I disagree with you. Before Game of Thrones, or coming into Game of Thrones, I would say my favorite show was Breaking Bad. And if you haven't seen Breaking Bad yet, then get on it. I don't know what to tell you about it. So Breaking Bad not only had a great few seasons, but also a great final season and great finale as a show. So that was the top one, I would say, out of all the TV shows that are out there. Another show that's out there that doesn't get enough credit for what it did was also Sons of Anarchy, which if you haven't seen that, that's on, I think, Netflix nowadays. But that show was also amazing as far as a finale is concerned, or a final season. It takes a while, especially for these shows, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, to really pick up. You have a lot of character development, which, to be honest, to give credit where credit is due, Game of Thrones also had the same thing, a lot of character development, a lot of things happening to build up these stories and for you to feel emotion towards these characters. And I think that's a great thing. It just takes a little while for you to get into the season or into the actual series, because the first season or two, there's a lot of character development. That's just part of the game. That's just part of the shows. But the problem that I have with Game of Thrones is that even with that character development, the final season, they just decided to, I don't know, really take a shit on everybody and all the fans, basically, that invested all their time in this show and into the characters, to really give everybody kind of a half-ass send-off, that I would say. There's a lot of deaths that happen in this season that I felt needed to be, that needed to pull at the heartstrings a little bit more. And I think the problem with that, or the reason that didn't happen, is because the season was so rushed, and these episodes were so rushed, and the last 3 episodes of the season were then trying to tie up all these stories and all these loose ends and everything that had culminated from past seasons. They just, try to resolve everything within a minute. Is kind of how I feel. Another gripe that I have is Jon Snow. Now, besides his ending and him going back to where he started, basically at the Night's Watch, besides that whole thing, one gripe that I had was Jon Snow's reveal as a Targaryen, as his claim to the throne, and the way that conflict also resolved itself. It didn't seem to have any type of bearing on any of the outcomes. It seemed like it would get to that point where everybody was finding out about Jon and his claim to the throne, him being some type of a threat. But at the end of the day, when he puts the knife into her heart, it's not as a Targaryen or as a threat. It's more from the perspective of a lover. And I think that could have happened, that could have easily been told without a secret that Jon Snow had. Because at the end of it, it just didn't matter. The whole Targaryen issue, or his, real birthright, just didn't matter at the end of it. So if it did nothing to further the story, or just did something to, I felt like it furthered it, and then they just stopped. They gave up on that whole storyline. I mean, he could have easily killed Daenerys as her lover without the extra story to it, without us getting invested, without us waiting for something else to happen. That didn't happen. So that was one of my problems with that. And lastly, was the whole thing with Brandon Stark at the end of it. Clap it up for him, I guess, for doing nothing on the group project and then becoming the king. He really did nothing. He sat there, stared into space. He looked like he was on drugs half the season. So for him to be the king, then sure, why not? And then the fact that he said that's what he came there for. He came all this way. I'm like, what? I don't get this whole three-eyed raven thing. I thought he was supposed to be an impartial overseer of the kingdoms, but I guess I was wrong. But anyways, those are kind of my gripes on it. I'm not going to go into too much else because of spoilers, but I kind of want to hear what you guys think of it. How would you like the season finale? How would you like the last season, season 8 in general? Leave your comments over on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter. Tweet me. Is that a thing still? Tweet me? Yeah. So tweet me or do what you want and let me know how you like the final season. Alright, well, besides that, last weekend was Megacon Orlando, which I am in Orlando, and I decided to go to Megacon on Friday, this past Friday. They had a special Back to the Future reunion, as it was called, an evening with the cast of Back to the Future. It was a panel that they had there that included Christopher Lloyd, who plays Doc Brown, Michael J. Fox, who plays Marty McFly, Tom Wilson, who plays Biff, Leah Thompson, who plays the mom, Lorraine McFly, and I forgot the actor's name, but he's the one who plays Principal Strickland, the one who does Slacker through all the movies. So it was a lot of fun, actually. Tom Wilson, I have to say, I love that guy. I saw him maybe 3 or 4 years ago at the Orlando Improv. He actually does stand-up comedy when he's not acting. He tours around with a guitar. He does a lot of music, and his stand-up comedy is hilarious. And his panel was even funnier. I mean, just the way that he was reacting to... He was sitting between Strickland and Christopher Lloyd, who are both not as young as they used to be. I mean, no one up there is as young as they used to be, but Tom Wilson was really just having a ball with these two guys. And the you know how old people get when they get delirious and don't even know where they're at, and don't know what they're saying, and don't know, and they're trying to reminisce on stories. And so they were trying to do that, and Tom Wilson was trying to reel it back in, but the way he did it was hilarious. Anyways, I'm going to be playing a few clips from that panel. Other than that, I mean, Megacon was a pretty cool experience. If you've never gone before, make sure you check it out next year that they're in town. It was at the convention center. You have a lot of people dressing up. There's a lot of picture opportunities, not only with celebrities, but also cosplay. And if you can't make it out to like Comic-Cons out in San Diego or New York, this is probably the second best thing, especially if you're local here in Orlando. Megacon Orlando. But at any rate, I just wanted to play a few clips of the Back to the Future panel for you. There's a couple things that were pretty interesting to hear, or things that maybe you get an interest on. There were a lot of stories that were told, behind the scenes stuff, so I'll play a couple of those for you, and then we'll come back from that.
And so they invited me to one of the party for some Make-A-Wish Foundation, children, and that kind of thing. I said, I really can't do the rides, but I'd like to meet everyone. I get there, everyone's having a wonderful time, and somebody, of course, says, Tom, do you think you can go on the ride with some of the kids?
Like it would really make little Timmy's day.
Exactly. Okay. All right, fine. So I go on the ride, and by the end of the ride, I am green. And I get off the ride, like, oh, thanks, it was so nice. Yes, you're welcome, I'm fine, I'm okay. Somebody comes up and says, Tom, Johnny missed being on the ride. So I had to do it again. Trying not to throw up on a Make-A-Wish kid.
That probably was not his wish.
That was not his wish, I'm sure. It would have been memorable.
I went and took the ride at Universal in LA, Anaheim, wherever, and with a lady friend, and we rode it up 4 times consecutively.
Oh.
And by the 4th ride, we got kind of playful with one another.
Go on.
Just saying. And so after we exited the car, they took us on a tour upstairs and discovered that there's a room or hallway with guys sitting there in front of their technical stuff. And we discovered that there's a camera on each car that monitors, because in case somebody has an emergency of some sort. So kind of intimate with a lot of the staff.
Talk ever.
That's the power of love.
Your delivery of Slacker, did you just hit it right away? Or did you kind of practice different Slackers?
I didn't practice. Robert Zemeckis said go, and I said Slacker. That's it.
When you're in your home and someone says, 20 million people saw the movie, or however millions, it's an abstract number, but here, 35 years later, all of you here, a good portion of you weren't even born when the movie was made. It's such an amazing thing, and I think it's kind of been like a wave, like waves of fans that keep coming in different generations, and it's spectacular, but I don't think we expected this when it came out. There wasn't even a sequel deal. Like, they didn't think there would be a Back to the Future 2. So it felt like a phenomenon because it was the #1 movie for almost the entire summer that it came out. But it didn't, we didn't think this was going to happen.
I was thinking today when I was taking pictures and signing autographs that I was thinking, why do I come here? And I thought, I come here because I want you to remember me. I come here because I want to remember you.
The interesting part of it is I try not to watch it anymore, and it's not a negative thing. It's just, but I know I will love it, but it will send me into sort of a reverie of thoughts and of introspection, of thinking about our relationships and my friends, and even when it's over, I won't get anything done for at least 2 hours. Because I'm just thinking about it and everything, so it's fascinating. But the movies are great. They're just great movies.
Tom, how did you approach the different physical aspects of the Biff and Griffs that we saw in Buford?
I had the older Biff and the younger Biff for the first movie. So I went out and I watched old people, and I got physically and vocally to go lower with my voice and forward with my head and all that. In the sequels, it was a great challenge because I had Griff, a different family member, Mad Dog Tennant, a totally different person, but of the same family. So I had to go into different color highlighter pens and went to these index cards of which character I was doing. And since you only have your face and your body and your voice, you have to change them up in various ways. So the first Biff, young Biff, was like a rooster who moved his head a lot and had a high voice. Hey, McFly, I thought I told you never to come in here. So, all of those things. Griff, I said, at what point do I use my chin, my under bicep? Griff had these jerking moves like, I had done a play years before where I did this with a character that just was jerky. So we said Griff was almost died when he was born, but he has electrical implants that aren't quite right. So my jaw would start like this, McFly! And then Buford had the lowest voice, which was sort of like Lee Marvin in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which is really lazy in your face and like a slouch. Like, hey, McFly. So it was really like, hey, McFly! Hey, McFly! Hey, McFly! It was all the way down to the various guys. And I just thought, if they don't cast this guy, they're crazy. Because he's unbelievable. Wow. So, yeah, he's just absolutely fantastic. If you look at all that stuff, which sometimes on the set seems crazy. I mean, what is he doing? Oh, no. And it's absolute genius.
You explain it too, it's a little story. I was shooting Teen Wolf, and I was on a street in Pasadena, and I was my trailer, and I was trying to eat my soup, my lunch to a straw, because I was yak hair glued on my face. Airplane glue, and I had this rubber snout, and I was saying it's hot, and I'm in Pasadena, and I'm in a trailer, and I'm a werewolf, and I said, what have I done? What have I done? How did I screw this up? How did I end up on this werewolf movie? And then I heard some of the crew talking. There were scouting directors from Steven Spielberg's company, Amblin. They were on the same street that we were on, scouting locations for a new movie they were going to call Back to the Future. And I heard, and I said, who's in it? I said, Crispin Glover's got a part. And I knew Crispin from Family Ties. He'd done a few episodes of Family Ties. I thought, I'm not a competitive guy. I wish I were the best, and I love Crispin. He's really talented. But I thought, this son of a bitch, how do you get that movie?
For you, what was this appeal of getting into this genre science fiction world for you?
I didn't have much to do about it. People called me and said, would you like to do this? And being an actor, I said yes.
Sort of like the clothes, Aaron.
Yes.
Sort of like the clothes.
Yeah, but it's coincidence, but I love doing both of them. I guess they exist in an unreal world. I mean, going around trying to figure out how to travel through space and time. What a goal, you know what I mean? And I'm running out of wind.
Because obviously we live in this era where science fiction and superheroes it's not only mainstream, it's dominating the landscape. And I was curious if you had any thoughts on why, in your opinion, like why do these movies seem to go out there and make $1 billion? Why, is this where we're investing our imaginations and our dollars? And I'm curious if anyone wants to weigh in on that, because Back to the Future was such an important part, is such an important part of that.
People want to say. You hear you? Okay. I really want to hear what you have to say.
Well, all I was going to say is that traveling into the future, into the past, I mean, it's like a very human fantasy. We all imagine, gee, I wish I could be here when this or that happened. So I wish I could go back to when that happened or whatever. So it's ingrained in our, imaginations. And the Back to the Future somehow took that concept to the hill. It just went full blast with it, and it worked. So well written and put together. And it made a very human picture. We were, there was a family. You're a kid. I'm kind of a uncle type guy, and we have this relationship. There's you being multiple selves, and I'm done.
That was good though. I appreciate it. Mike, what were you gonna say?
It was great. I was just saying that people are always looking for escape, or looking for, like, they don't want to just escape. They want to find meaning in it and realize that, believe that things are happening at different levels. And any time we can come to another level, and we can be a whole new world. We may have the same name and the same family, and the same issues, and the same job, but a different dynamic is happening. Whether it's like time travel, the idea that what we lived before is still happening right now, and we can go back to it. Or what's going to happen is predetermined, we can go ahead to it, or we can meld steel with our hands, or we can fly, or we can build a suit and become a rocket man, or it's just really powerful stuff. And the more difficult the world gets, the more it's really cool to be the guy who can shoot webs out of your hand. And do the right thing. And know with that stuff is like to be used for good instead of evil. And it's just big ideas. It's tough to be just in life sometimes. And that's the way.
To be a kid from Philadelphia who was in acting classes, who didn't think I was really talented in anything. I thought I was kind of a smart kid, and I was good on my feet when I talked. But I wasn't an athlete, and I wasn't, popular or anything. I like music. So to be able to start this thing, acting, and think, do I have a talent at something? Am I good at it? And have teachers start approving of that. I'm just saying, to go to New York and begin getting approval to be doing theater, and this process that led to Back to the Future, which says, it's like a field of dreams. The guy looks back, hey, rookie, you were good. So I think I worked very, very hard at it, and I'm very proud of it, because I think I did a good job.
So like I said, I had an amazing time at Megacon, had an amazing time at Back to the Future panel. So make sure you don't miss it next year. I'm not sure if they'll be back, the Back to the Future thing. I think it was a one-time reunion, especially in Orlando. I don't know if they're going to different cons doing this, but I know this was like a big thing for Megacon. So if they have it again, definitely check it out, or wherever you're at. If you're not in Orlando, but you see the Back to the Future reunion cast going on, go to it. Trust me, it was a lot of fun and worth it, especially if you're a Back to the Future fan. Right after Megacon, I rushed over to the movie theater down the street to meet some of my friends to go watch John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. So going into this movie, I thought it was the last John Wick movie that was going to be made. However, they are setting up for a John Wick 4 for another part of it. I'm assuming Keanu Reeves will be in it still, and everybody else, the cast. But it was a really good movie. John Wick Chapter 3 had a great cast on it. The fight scenes just continue to get better and better as each movie goes around. So John Wick 1, John Wick 2, I didn't think they could top the fight scenes in John Wick 2, but they did with John Wick 3. So now it's just one of those things, where is John Wick 4 going to go with it? How do they top that? That was the big question, on how do they top everything that happened in John Wick Chapter 3, as far as like fight scenes, as far as anything else that's going on. So normally after these movies, we go ahead and we talk a little bit about things that happen. Like me and my friends, we kind of hang out and shoot the shit for about an hour after the movie's done, just laughing about random stuff. But at any rate, I went ahead and brought my little handy recorder with me and tried to interview my friends who did not want to be on I don't know, they were looking at the handy recorder like it was something from space, like they had never seen anything before. So some random guy came up to me, or not came up to me, but he asked me, hey, what's that thing? And I was like, hey, it's a little handy recorder. You want to get interviewed? So I interviewed the guy, asked him a couple questions to get some fan reactions to John Wick Chapter 3. I did record that, and here it is. Jay, what'd you think about John Wick 3?
Oh, douche.
That's a terrible thing. What'd you think about John Wick? Come here.
I could be in this?
Yeah, be in it.
Y'all ain't recording this like on camera? John Wick, he's the greatest assassin in the world. That's all I got to say right there.
What was your the best death scene in that movie?
All of the dog scenes.
All the dog scenes. He was just saying the dog scenes.
Them dogs are destructive. Those are a force to be reckoned with. To take me back to, what's that game that came out? Modern Warfare 3, I think it was.
One of the Call of Duty.
Yeah, they had them all in there. You seen the dogs at your ass. Yeah, I remember that, man. That was a good.
What about Halle Berry? You want to see more of her?
She's still just super sexy. Halle Berry, I don't know. She pulled it off, though. I can say that much. But, maybe she can come back and help him again. But besides that, I'm just one of them people.
Is there going to be another John Wick?
Yeah, according to the end of that movie. I was waiting for the extra after scene, whatever the heck those credits are.
I thought it was like Marvel.
Yeah, he was waiting for one of those.
No,
man, that movie was good too, that Endgame. But I'm a movie connoisseur. That's what I call myself. But yeah, John Wick could definitely have another one.
John Wick 3.
John Wick 4.
In theaters now. In theaters now. John Wick 4 coming next year. Next year?
I like it. I don't know.
We'll do it. What'd you think about John Wick?
John Wick. John Wick.
As you can hear, people are excited about John Wick Chapter 3. So if you haven't gone to see it yet, Chapter 3 is out in theater. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum is out now, so go ahead and check it out. Super exciting. Great fight scenes. A lot of action. If you like the John Wick movies, of course, you're going to love this one. So can't wait for Chapter 4 whenever they announce that, whenever that's coming out. But I'm assuming Keanu Reeves is going to be busy with the Bill and Ted Part 3 first, and then he'll probably get into the John Wick series. Or maybe he's doing it both at the same time. I don't know. Either way, I still can't believe Keanu Reeves is doing these action movies with these fight scenes, and he does a lot of his own fights in it as well. So it's pretty crazy that he's doing this at his age. Not that he's old, but he's kind of old. And that's our show. So hopefully next week we'll have a new episode. I have a couple interviews set up with some people who want to be on the show, including a couple stand-up comedians in the area, some of my friends that are out in Texas that I used to host some shows with, and hopefully some other content creators that we can get on the show. If you do want to be a guest on the show, want to talk nerdy with me, then go ahead and reach out to me either on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we'll make something happen. Always looking for new guests, new people. If you like to talk about something pop culture, or also if you're just a fan of the show and want to hear us talk about something specific, then go ahead and send us a message as well to the show. Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's show, guys. I'll see you guys next week, and stay blessed.
Algorithm.